What's up, YouTube? This is 82 and 0. So, a fan asked me, how good would Jerry Lucas be in 2022 or just today in general? For those of you who don't know, Jerry Lucas was a Hall of Famer. He played in the 60s and 70s. He started out in Cincinnati. He won a championship with the Knicks. Uh, he's a seven-time All-Star, like I said, 1973 NBA champion. He's a 1965 All-Star Game MVP, 1964 Rookie of the Year. Well, I think he'd be great in this era. And he's a really great rebounder. Very underrated. Okay, despite being 6'8", he was blessed with a photographic memory. And this is kind of similar to Dennis Rodman, because I don't think Rodman had a photographic memory, but what I'm saying is Rodman would study how the ball bounces off of the hoop, or the rim, I mean. And Jerry Lucas, he was blessed with probably a superhuman memory. I think everybody watching this should go look this up, how great his memory is. He could sit down and read a phone book, right? And read it in one sitting, okay? Like a couple pages, then he'd be able to recall every detail, you know? So he's a very smart guy. So this is what made him such a good rebounder, is he would know how the ball was going to fall off. It's not so much that he could jump over everyone, uh, but also he was a great defender. He wasn't necessarily a good shot blocker or got a lot of steals, but he knew how to put pressure on people down low. And he was an amazing shooter, very efficient. He got as high as actually over 55% field goal shooting. Um, he could be a good second option on a championship team, even a lesser role. He wasn't a selfish player. He was willing to take a backup role for the Knicks, right? And just to get a championship. He could have had starter minutes on any other team, but he's a kind of guy that can give you post defense. He can give you good rebounding, great inside scoring, but also he was a great free throw shooter. He had over 80% free throw shooting a few seasons. But also, he was a great 3-point shooter. And I know they didn't have the 3-point line in the NBA back then, but he was a great outside shot. That was one of the things he was known for. So, how good would he be today? Um, if we put him in today's era with his play style, I don't think he'd be playing power forward. I think he'd be a small forward, or maybe he could play power forward because of how good of a rebounder he is. But I could see him. I always hate doing comparisons because people always try to like crucify you if you say a comparison they don't like. But I could see him averaging like 22 points on a bad team to 24, uh, like 12 to 18 rebounds per game in today's era, just because of how good of a rebounder he was. I don't think people understand him, Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, and I think Nate Thurman are the only other players to average over 20 rebounds per game. And he was an underrated passer. I think that's something people forget. So I could see him averaging, like I said, 22 to 24, 12 to 18 rebounds, depending on what role he's taking, 4 to 5 assists. But also his shooting, I think he could, I realistically, maybe this is a stretch, but I could see him actually getting a 50, 40, 90 season. I don't, hey, maybe I'm blowing smoke. Maybe that's a hot take. That's fine if you disagree, but I could see him getting like 54, 55% field goal shooting as he plays today in a less rough league. Um, he has more time to focus on his game because today's players, they get to focus on their game a lot more and becoming more efficient. I could see him averaging like 55% field goal shooting. I could see him averaging anywhere from 35 to 40% 3-point shooting. And I could see him averaging in the high 80s to early 90s free throw shooting. Maybe like 91 is the best free throw shooting I could see him doing. But could he win a championship today? I don't think today he'd be just like back then. He wouldn't be the number one option on a team. And I should do a video on Jerry Lucas just in general. He's a very underrated player. But this guy would be great playing with a few other stars. Like, think about that Knicks super team that he was on. Earl Monroe, Jerry Lucas, Willis Reed, Walt Frazier. One comparison I want to bring up. Maybe this isn't a fair comparison, I get it. But I remember a few years ago, I'm sure everybody else does, but those Cavs teams that had Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving, and LeBron. Because Kevin Love was like this rebounding guy, shooting the three. He wasn't a good defender like Jerry Lucas was. But what if like it was Jerry Lucas, Kyrie Irving, LeBron, or just any scenario playing with someone today? I think he's great at being a second or third option. And he wasn't because he's not a selfish player at all. And he just wants to win. And he's great at a lot of things. I could see him winning a championship on a team with other stars. I can't really see him being the type of guy that could lead his team to a championship. I mean, come on, he's not like an Elgin Baylor of his time or a Wilt Chamberlain, but this is no knock against the guy. I have nothing but respect for Jerry Lucas. So who would he play for today in this modern era? Unfortunately, in his original timeline, he played for the Kings and Knicks, right? Let's say like his. I always hate doing some of these comparisons because it's kind of hard to put in a modern context. But let's say for the sake of argument that he played today with the same teams and the same equivalent time. Like, he was drafted in 62, 63, but let's say his first season was 12, 13. Let's say he played for the Kings then. I mean, he would be a good second option to DeMarcus Cousins on the Kings in the early 2010s, but I don't think they're going to win a championship. And let's say he goes to the Knicks like the original timeline. So 71, 72, he goes to the Knicks. So, like, let's say 21-22 this year, he would have went to the Knicks. I mean, obviously he's not going to win a championship. Let's think of a different contender. What about instead of staying with... Well, I mean, he did go to the San Francisco Warriors, too. I don't know. That's not the purpose of this video. I'm just trying to think of, like, a team I'd like to see him play on today to win his championship. He'd be great on the modern Warriors, I'll tell you that. Can you imagine how crazy that trio would be of Jerry Lucas, Curry, Klay Thompson? Actually, you know what? That's what the team I'd like to see him on. What if him, Draymond, Curry, Klay Thompson all play? Man, they'd be unstoppable. All that outside shooting and defense. Well, I mean, Curry's not a very good defender, but you know what I mean. But nonetheless, I think he could win a championship on a good team today as like a second or third option. And he would be a Hall of Famer, no doubt. Be multiple-time All-Star. I could see him making a few all-defense teams, too. because of his rebounding. But what are your thoughts? How good do you think Jerry Lucas would be in this modern era? Because to me, there's no question. I think this game would really suit him as a shooting stretch 4 or 5. So, what are your thoughts? Let me know what you guys think down below. Thanks for watching.